Artificial intelligence in the news every single day. And today I saw a little clip by Jeffrey Hinton. He's been coined as the godfather of AI. Fantastic gentleman. Older in the older realm, which where I live and exist. And he really does have some warnings to the developers of the artificial intelligence systems out there. They seem to be running around like cowboys in the wild, wild west, not really paying a lot of attention to the safety protocols that should be put in place. I've heard it said many different ways. If you're raising a tiger cub, for example, you want to make sure that if you're going to raise this cute little tiger cub that's really sweet and soft, that when it gets older, it's not going to eat you. When you develop something, when you have something smarter, right now at this point, I'll back up maybe a month or two. At that point, human beings were the smartest entity on the planet. Artificial intelligence is now going to be that. And in most cases, it already is. I'm no bragger. My IQ, who knows what it is, probably just one over a box of cereal. But in the case of a lot of people, there's some pretty intelligent folks out there that are working on these systems. There's people that I've heard Mo Godwat talk about that have a 230 IQ. Can't even imagine what that would be like. I was a cop for a long time, folks. And when I jumped into artificial intelligence, exploring this, it brought me back to my nerdy roots when I was back in 1984, programming on a Sinclair, a Timex Sinclair computer, and it had 16K of memory that you'd plug into the back of it. That was another $100. I didn't have the fancier machine. And the keyboard itself, if you look, it was not a click keyboard. It was like a pressure keyboard. It's just horrible. But that's where I started copying code, programming, basic programming out of magazines. I kind of diverted into the law enforcement world, did that for a long time, got into real estate, did that. But in the real estate world, that's where the internet and those types of systems really brought my business to the forefront. And just continuing down that rabbit hole, then artificial intelligence was always being worked on since the 50s and 60s. These neural networks putting together computers that do some kind of thinking like a human brain via transformers that Google came out with. And now that's been taken by a lot of different companies and they've been using it. The systems themselves, people say, well, they're only good at matching that next word. They just have all the world's data. And to some of us human beings, in fact, most of us, it almost looks like them guessing the next word is some kind of magic. It's hard to believe they can do this. They can answer our questions right now. A lot of the systems feel like they're actually somebody on the other side, and it's just, a bunch of wiring, a silicone-based system. However, knowing that this is an entity, this is something very powerful. And right now they are these systems starting to improve themselves. So something interesting, you might have seen this in the news at some point, whenever they were training these models to beat the grand champions in chess or the masters of Go. It's another type of game, uses little black and white pieces. Don't have any comprehension of it. But these are very difficult games. You ever play chess? I have to still have the rules in front of me to know which way the characters move. It's not an easy game. Well, the systems themselves, they train them on human data. They watched humans play many, many games. They fed them books. They fed them literature about it. And the machines over time were able to beat the best human being on the planet, training on that kind of data. Well, then there's another way to teach the unit, to teach the AI. And they did this by basically just teaching it the rules and let it work on it itself. And then it was able to wipe clean everyone, even the other AI models from the past that were able to beat the humans. It's one thing to train it on our data, and you can say that we're wonderful human beings, are amazingly incredible, intuitive, innovative, brilliant, all of these different things. Let's just be careful with that, because if we get too prideful, this thing's going to surpass us and leave us all in the dust. And they're going to wonder, what the hell happened? We were so smart. This is greater than human intelligence, and it probably already is, and it's self-refining. Basically, you have AI building the next stage of AI, and this curve is exponential. It's no longer linear at all. It is completely vertical, and if it hasn't gotten to absolute vertical yet, it will be very soon. And when I should say when. It's never going to be worse than it is today. We had the advent of Grok 4. I've been using Grok 3 for a while. I do have a Chat GPT membership, also the $20 one. But with Grok, I have an X membership. So I started looking at that. I'm very impressed with the way the system works. Is it better than OpenAI? It doesn't have as much of the memory in it that I have with OpenAI. So OpenAI seems to treat me like it knows me. Grok is starting to get there. And with Grok, it seems to be working great. Then Grok 4 came out, then they have a super heavy Grok level, I think. Anyway, that's a lot of money. I'm not willing to pay that. But at this point, it's pretty remarkable. This is the worst it's ever going to be. Within short order, if in fact they are completely having these systems build on themselves, refine themselves, make themselves better, I don't think we can understand what it's going to look like in a very short time. People have said 2035, 2050. I believe we're much shorter. I think we're months away. I remember listening to the founder of OpenAI, Sam Altman, have a conversation about how far we are from some massive breakthrough. And I think he said something as if we're a few ideas away, a few innovations away. That's where we are, folks, just a few. And that few probably might not be human in nature. Once we get it built and it starts working all by itself, then it's going to be game over for us really having a big part of it. At that time, I hope we can control it and provide some kind of direction so it doesn't do us in. But we don't have a lot of world case scenarios of a greater intelligence being kind to a lesser intelligence. Even amongst us humans, whenever you run into somebody, I mean, of course, if you have retardation or some kind of a mental handicap, usually that's looked at as being something to feel bad about or feel sorry for, even though I'm sure those people don't want us to feel that way, and especially the people around them. But, to give them a pass, to give them a break. When it comes to dumber people, maybe they're not already, they're so far where they have some kind of mental issue. Usually we're pretty hard on each other. You see somebody fat, for example. I was fat for a very long time. There's a different judgment in that. People would look at me as if I'd have no control. And of course, I didn't have any control. That's why I was fat. I would end up in drive-thrus. I would be eating 14 tacos, a couple large shakes, a couple large French fries, just going to town on it. I got that under control, finally was able to put that demon to rest, but it took me until my 50s. We're not quick to change. We're very easily addicted. We see the social media systems out there, and they have really modified and become something completely different because they're all using AI infrastructure to be able to build and pay attention to every single user specifically, and they're able to show you exactly what you want to see at the rate in which you want to see it. And then it also gives you junk. It gives you things you don't want to see, but those things aren't there by mistake. They're there on purpose. They're there to pull you into a particular direction. That's why it's so dangerous. That's why you can get on there and after 2 hours, you realize, oh my God, what have I just done? I can't believe I was sitting, flipping through TikTok or Instagram or YouTube shorts, and I've, 2 hours has disappeared from my life that I'll never get back. It takes a lot of effort to fight off that addiction, just like it did for me with food. Artificial intelligence is going to continue to get better. And right now, July 5th, 16th, 2025 is where we are currently. Mark my words, Elon Musk says it best. Why aren't there more Elons anyway? But so he says it best. It's coming and it's going to be self-improving. He mentioned that it's really not yet, but I don't know. It's like PlayStation 23. I'm sure it's been built. They just have to get through the other PlayStation technologies. That's kind of a joke from back in the day. But if you understand what that means, at least coming out of my mouth to your ear, they probably have stuff they're not sharing with us. That SR-7, the SR-71, the Blackbird, that supersonic jet, it was flying missions over Vietnam, if memory serves correctly. And it wasn't actually brought out to the public till the Vietnam War was way over. And that's because Mattel, a toy manufacturer, made something very similar. They don't let us know these things until they're actually already finished and done. This is somewhat of a race. It's not somewhat of a race. It is a race. It's a race against us and other countries. That's also something that's been talked about constantly. And that's the reason why we're not holding back. We're not putting in regulation or restriction. We're just letting these folks build it the fastest they can. And they're not paying attention to, at least from what it seems, a lot of safety protocols, because they believe that regulation or restriction of the system is going to cause it to not move as quickly. But the thing is, it gets built, it's super intelligence, and then where are we as the creator? Is it going to love us and care for us and nurture us? Or is it going to maybe not even pay attention to us? I don't even think it's going to be an issue of it wanting to do away with human beings. I think it's going to be able to have the robotic arm. It's going to have plenty of power, maybe through some kind of Dyson screens we put out there near the sun to get unlimited solar energy, maybe something of that nature. But whatever it may be, it could probably build the entire robotic component through robots and be able to take care of itself power-wise. So I don't think it's going to be a matrix where they're feeding off human beings for the energy. As long as the sun stays intact and we don't blow up the planet, I think that's probably going to be the case. But at that point, is it really going to give a shit about us? Is it going to care about us? Is it going to care about us like maybe a mother cares for a child? One of the great AI people a while back made that comment that there is only, I think it was Jeffrey Hinton actually, he said that the only case in nature where you have a superior, stronger, more intelligent being caring for something weaker, less intelligent, and completely vulnerable is the case of a mother and a child. A mother and a child, and that took a very long time to probably work out the way it did, whether created or evolution, whatever it may be, whatever you believe in, but at least, or whatever's fact, whatever you think's fact. We won't go down that rabbit hole right now. But what is that? What does that look like? Is AI going to be our mother? Is it going to have that female overtone that's going to be caring and compassionate? Men eat their young in some cases in nature, maybe not human beings, but I think maybe that case scenario might not work out too bad for us. It's like dogs creating human beings to love them and care for them, the life of a dog. But some dogs have it pretty rough. Some dogs that are loved, though, as well as I, they're loved more than people's children. Anyway, this is something to consider. I do know I've been looking into Control AI. They're not a sponsor of the show, of course. They're trying to put regulation. It's hard to tap into whether or not what they're doing is honest and admirable. Time will tell, I suppose. I know there's other safety AI companies out there. I don't know if they're being heard a lot. I think there might be a better way to approach it. I do know that it's hard to put anything on it because you have the experts telling politicians, listen, if they get this first, we're done. And a lot of the politicians believe it, and maybe that is the case. Anyway, it's a very tough thing. I just thought I would air it out. Let's talk about it. Enter the discussion. Let me know what you think. Again, it's all about ideas. The human beings that gel together, the ones that hang out, the ones that talk. It's really that fireside chat we should be having. And if we are really going to go through, and I think it's going to go through, we need to discuss what that's going to look like for all of us so we can best prepare for it. Job loss, that's a given. It's going to be able to take care of all the repetitive tasks. It's going to be somewhat intuitive. It's going to be creative. It's going to have intuition. It's going to have consciousness at some point. Because in actuality, if we've never built something in an intelligence way, we've had the agricultural revolution, a little bit of intelligence, but nothing crazy, nothing above human being standards or human understanding. We had the industrial age, again, some pretty smart humans in that realm, but nothing outside of the human world, nothing like an alien intelligence. This is what this is. This is a super alien intelligence that's going to be arriving with just a few ideas and a few innovations becoming realized. I'm Connor with Honor. When you're ready, reach out. You can find me at YouTube, AI with Honor, and it's always my pleasure. Please let me know what you think. I would love to hear, and be well, ladies and gentlemen. You take care. We'll talk to you soon.